Hugo Mendes is the the business development manager for Cambrilearn. They currently offer just remind me, it's the sciences, is that right? The sciences for Edexcel. And so I've invited Hugo here as, obviously Cambrilearn is huge and massive. So I've invited Hugo, obviously, to, if anybody's got questions about the Edexcel courses from I don't want to use, what's the word? It's not supplier, from an educating point of view. Okay. And then before I introduce you to see, I'm nervous now. I always get nervous. You'd think I do this all day. Before I introduce you to Christine, I'd just like to introduce you to Yolandi Garden from Touchbase. She basically teaches Afrikaans. A fantastic person to know from Touchbase, but she also basically has her own center in PE, so a great person to get to know. I also have teacher Linda. Teacher Linda also teaches IGCSE and AS level English, if I'm correct, teacher Linda. And I think the rest of us are parents, if I'm correct. So then, if I can introduce Christine and hand you over to Christine, who's basically going to, explain, who Edexcel is. Just so you know, I worked for Edexcel when I was in the UK. I worked for Edexcel for 10 years. And it is one of the reasons why I'm actually very excited to get working with their qualifications, because I was fortunate in working through the whole exams process, from the actual not marking the exams, but seeing the exams marked, teaching the marker or training the markers, actually the handling of the scripts in the warehouse. I got to do all of that. And I know how thorough the system is. I know the checks and balances on that side. And, that is a reason for me to basically want to really get on board with Edexcel, just because I know the thoroughness that Edexcel brings to their examinations process. So from there, if I can jump over to Christine and introduce Christine.
Sure, I'll take over from here. Thank you, Nick. So hi, everyone. I'm Christine Evans. I'm Head of Business Development for Pearson's International Schools Division, which includes the Edexcel qualifications and all of the teaching and learning resources that support the delivery of those qualifications. And I work across sub-Saharan Africa, so I have a team with representatives in Ghana, Kenya, Botswana, and then myself down here in South Africa. And I'm really excited to join you this evening to give you a little bit of an insight into who Pearson is and what the Pearson Edexcel qualifications are all about. So I'm just going to share my screen. You're welcome to pop questions into the chat or put your hand up, and Nick will let me know that there's a hand and we can stop and address questions as we go along, or wait until the end and we can talk through during the Q&A as well. So let me go ahead and share. Okay, if you could just let me know whether you can see my screen.
Absolutely perfect.
Nick, can you see my slide?
Yep, screen is up. You just want to put it into your presentation mode.
It's not showing as presentation.
No, so on your screen,
It's showing as presentation on my side. That's why I'm a bit confused. Let me try again.
unless it's slow, which happens sometimes.
Maybe it's slow. Let's just give it a minute and see if it loads. Is it showing yet? It's in presentation mode on my side, so I'm not sure why.
Okay, so yeah, if you click, then I don't know. Does maybe it's just my screen.
Otherwise, I can just. I mean, it's not ideal, but I can also just go through them, not in presentation mode. It's less pretty, but the information.
Check your screen. I'm not sure which screen you're sharing in, so you might be sharing using the tab button. So if you're using the tab button or a window button, you might have to check.
Okay, I'll share my whole screen. Let me do that then. Excuse the wind in the background. It is howling.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So let's begin. So why Pearson Edexcel? So we have changed our name many times over the years, and it really doesn't help people to know who we are. Most people know us as a publishing organization, and we are fantastic publishers, but we also are essentially a global learning company. Pearson is involved in all aspects of education in different parts of the world, and so there's a lot of knowledge and expertise within the organization which we can leverage when we're supporting our partners in our schools, which is really fantastic. And also when we're developing new products and services, we have a very broad perspective to work from, which is, I think, very much a strength. In terms of Pearson Edexcel and our origins, we were first established as the University of London in the 1800s through a royal charter, and we remained University of London examinations for many years. We then became Edexcel, Education Excellence, and then we were acquired by Pearson, and we retained the name Edexcel to represent our academic qualifications. We're the largest awarding organization in the UK, so very much sort of grew in an opposite way to other boards you will be familiar with, which established themselves internationally and now deliver some qualifications in the UK. We established ourselves in the UK and then started exporting our qualifications internationally. So we mark over 9 million exam scripts for the UK Education Department every year. And we are very proud, as Nick kindly mentioned, to have an incredibly thorough marking process. And the results changes, the number of grades that have been changed through post-result services are published in the UK, and we are very often at the top of the list in terms of least number of grade changes required, or at least very much up towards the top of the list, and that's something we're very proud of in terms of having accurate and reliable marking. Our qualifications are recognized worldwide, so in general, the GCSE and A-level qualification is a very well understood qualification, but Pearson Edexcel is very much recognized as a UK examination board providing and certifying those qualifications. And we'll get to this a little bit later in terms of the modular nature of our O-levels. It's very much a kind of distinctive difference between what you will find with other boards and Edexcel, and something that's very attractive to the schools that we work with. Right, and some of the areas that we've been really focusing on in terms of innovation is very much online schooling. So you'll see here that it says we've got more than 20 years of online schooling expertise. That stems from the fact that in the US, Pearson actually owns an online school and has been delivering online learning for the US curriculum in collaboration with US states, so working with governments in various states and supporting students who, for whatever reason, choose not to or are unable to be within a traditional school environment, and they have the option then to have online learning support them. And there's a lot of best practice that's obviously developed over that 20 years process, and it's something that we very much have learned from in terms of how we support online schools. And so we're very open to the growth of online schools and very excited to partner with a number of online schools around the world, including Cambrilearn. And we're also very excited to have run a pilot for our first on-screen international GCSE examinations last June, which got incredibly positive feedback. And this May, June, our existing exam centers were able to opt into writing international GCSE English language on screen. And this is an area that we are very much focused on investing in. We've been very involved in debates and discussions with the UK government around the future of assessment. And so we absolutely see technology playing a crucial role, not just in terms of leveraging, using technology for the sake of it, but leveraging the capability of technology to enhance the assessment experience for the learner. Right. And then this is also modular, but I will talk about that in a little bit more detail later. And then on the right is just a little bit more detail in terms of other areas of education that we're involved with. So you might be aware of Pearson View. This is a computer-based assessment service with test centers all around the world, English language learning and testing, so Pearson Test of English, and then, of course, a lot of research and development, professional development for teachers and things like that. Okay, so our Pearson Edexcel qualifications span from early years through to A-level. That is what we call our I-Progress journey. And essentially, we focus on obviously sort of excellence in not just the support we give to our schools, but the development of our qualifications. So one of the key points to highlight is the fact that we are very consultative in the development of our qualifications. So we also have a higher education publishing business. We are involved very much in higher education generally, and we have very strong partnerships with universities. And so they are involved in reviewing any kind of new developments in qualifications or revised specifications or curriculum to ensure that those qualifications are preparing students effectively for higher education. One of the elements that came out of that consultation with both higher education institutions and employers in the last review of our qualifications was the need for transferable skills, sometimes called soft skills. We heard very much that students are even leaving university, going into the workplace, but not having the behaviors and kind of, I'm going to say transferable skills again, to be effective in the workplace, to apply their knowledge effectively. And so within our qualifications, we very much have embedded the development of these skills throughout our curriculum and also throughout our teaching and learning resources to help teachers create opportunities for the teaching and development and exercising or practicing the use of these skills all the way from primary in terms of development of critical thinking to A-level, where we have a framework of both interpersonal skills and intrapersonal skills that are focused on development to ensure that learners are as employable as possible as they go into the world of work after their formal education. Something else that Pearson is very proud of is that we place a big emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And obviously, when we are developing qualifications and learning materials for students around the world, cultural sensitivity and relevance is essential. And so we have a process internally that all of our products and services go through to review specifically to ensure that they meet those requirements. We've also more recently enhanced our global perspectives curriculum and teaching and learning resources to make sure that students have the opportunity to learn more about the world, about global issues, current affairs, and engage with big questions and big problems. And as well as accessibility, so very much aware of English as a second language learners, and making sure that our curriculum is scaled accordingly to support students with various language backgrounds. All right, I'm going to continue on just for the sake of time. So International GCSE, many of you will be familiar with the qualification. It's designed for learners aged 14 to 16, and it is very much a foundational qualification. Here in South Africa, you can use international GCSEs towards your university combination. In some countries, A-levels are not required. But within the UK system, normally a student would do international GCSE and then progress to A-level and then go on to university. Something to highlight about our international GCSE is that a few years ago, the UK GCSE qualification transitioned from the A star to G grading scale to a 9-to-1 grading scale, and we applied the same grading scale to our international GCSE qualifications. You will see in the comparative diagram that 9 is a new grade. So with this scale, it gives students the opportunity to achieve a higher level, a higher level of achievement. So it is above an A star. But also there is greater differentiation in the middle grades. So it gives a much more accurate view on the performance of that learner. And obviously those that have always been kind of targeting A star would find the 9 a very attractive result to pursue. All right, so this is our list of international GCSE subjects. Our examination series for international GCSE have been in January and May, June. However, as of 2023, we now have moved our January examination series to November. So all of the subjects that you see with an asterisk next to them are available in the November series as well. And so there are 2 assessment opportunities, May, June, and November, which obviously aligns far more comfortably with the Southern Hemisphere academic year than would have previously been the case. And then, of course, we publish supporting learning resources for students. We have a lot of digital learning resources as well, which are very popular. And so there's a broad range of support. We have past papers on our website. We have a lot of information available. It's not always easy to navigate, but there is help available to assist you in finding what you need. All right, then international AS and A level. So again, a few years ago, there was a change with the UK GCE A level qualification in that there was a split between the AS level qualification and the A level qualification, so that students pursuing an AS level qualification would complete 1 year, certify, and would no longer have the option to have that AS qualification contribute towards a full A level qualification. So it was split out. We chose to retain the model of AS being year 1 and that contributing towards the 2-year A-level qualification. And so that structure has very much remained in our international AS and A-level qualification. So these qualifications are obviously designed to prepare students either for the workplace or for university. And I mentioned the modular nature of our qualifications. So this is something that's quite unique. Some people might think of modular as being the structure I just described, so AS in year 1 and A2 in year 2. But in fact, our international A-levels are structured with a series of units. So, for example, if we take biology, the AS would be made up of 3 units, and A2 would be made up of another 3 units. And we have 3 examination opportunities throughout the year, so January, May, June, and October. Sorry about the dog in the background, if you can hear that. And so what it means in terms of being modular is that students can split or spread their units across exam series. So you could, in theory, sit Unit 1 in January, Unit 2 in May, June, Unit 3 in October, or if you're starting in January, sit Unit 1 in May, June, Unit 2 in October, Unit 3 in the following January. And so this means that it doesn't just provide the flexibility to spread out examination stress and anxiety, which was a huge element, obviously, of the pandemic experience and something that was very much valued, but it also means that students can resit 1 unit if they haven't achieved their target grade, rather than resitting the whole AS qualification, all three papers for their AS certification. And so that really is an advantage for many learners. In terms of USAF and the 2-sitting rule, they do not look at an examination series where there is not a certificate and a grade being issued. So spreading units out is not an issue. It doesn't make that, it doesn't count as extra sittings, because they will only look at the exam series where a certificate and a grade have been issued to the learner. And so they would obviously complete their AS, then they would continue on potentially to the A-level qualification, and again they could spread out those 3 units across exam series, and then what we call cash in at the end, which essentially means that they once they are eligible for the full award, they've sat all of their units, they would then achieve their certification and be given an overall grade. And so again, during the pandemic, some students who had already completed some of their units had some banked evidence of their achievement already with us that could be used to build on in terms of the alternative assessment models that you saw used throughout that difficult period. This is an overview of our international A-level subjects.
Sorry, Christine, I've got a question from Hugo.
Sure.
Thanks, Christine. I just wanted to clarify this modular series of writing. Mm-hmm. Is there a time period within which you have to do the entire series, or could you literally do like 1 paper in 2023 and then 1 unit in 2024 and then another unit in 2025, and then from what I understood, it'll only count as having been sat once in 2025 when you qualify? Is that how it works? Is there no time limit as to when you can combine or bank, cash in your modular papers?
Yes, that is correct. If there is no grade or certificate issued in the exam series, then USAF considers that an internal assessment.
Okay, but there is no time limit even from Pearson's itself. They don't say you have to complete the series.
If we're spreading them out over years and years, then the risk is that that curriculum may come up for review and updating, and then elements of your qualification may no longer be relevant.
Yeah.
So it's not recommended. Obviously, also the knowledge may be built on across each unit. So if you are doing a unit and then only sitting the next unit the following year, it's not the most efficient way of learning, because you will have to review everything potentially that you did in the prior unit if that knowledge is being built on in the examination that you are writing currently. Obviously, that would vary by subject, but it is something else to take into consideration.
Sorry, Christine, we got another question from Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, yes, sorry. I'm assuming that because you're mentioning USAF, that Edexcel is fully accepted by USAF on all levels. And even if it is an on-screen test or whatever, where you are heading towards, is all of that fine with USAF?
So Pearson Edexcel is recognized by USAF. Our qualifications are recognized by USAF. We haven't engaged with them on screen because there haven't been any examinations taken yet in South Africa on screen. However, the certification of those qualifications will look exactly the same. And so we're not expecting that there would be any challenge. I have a good relationship with USAF, and obviously as we bring out innovative new approaches, those are discussed with them, and we wouldn't make anything available in South Africa that is not going to be accepted by USAF. So that's a kind of a conversation that hasn't taken place yet, but essentially the qualification that will be issued will be the same.
Sorry, Christine, another question from Teacher Rox.
Hi, Rox.
Hello. Hi. Sorry to, this is going a little bit off topic, but just what I think about it. With the idea of online assessment, how will that work for for students with that possibly have dyslexia or dysgraphia or things like that? How will that actually, will they be able to cope with that? I mean, how will that be set up for students that have special needs like that?
Sure. So I'm no expert on special needs, but your question is interesting because actually the model of on-screen assessment that we have been building on for our international GCSE qualifications was first used specifically for a group of learners with special education needs that needed the functionality that technology could provide in their assessment experience. So some of the elements of using on screen specifically address some special education needs. For example, enlarging text or potentially reading out the text for a learner. There's a lot of different functions that technology can bring that would actually more effectively support learners than some of the access arrangements that are currently available for paper-based examinations.
Okay, thank you. No, it's very interesting for me, and the idea of how that could actually work. And I do see that it could be very potentially very beneficial for some of those students. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm taking you a little bit off topic there, but
right,
I just what I was asking. All right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? No? Okay.
Sorry, another one's just, Linda just dropped in.
I'm sorry, I was a little slow there on the buttons. My mouse and I had a misunderstanding here. I just wanted to know about testing centers. How readily are they available? Do they come to, where do they write?
So we do have a few examination centers around the country. I'll be very honest with you that there are not many at the moment, but there is a rapid growth of exam centers happening in South Africa as we obviously grow awareness and demand for the qualification. Because of our examination timing previously, we didn't really align to the local academic year, and so we haven't actually done a lot of promotion of Pearson Edexcel in South Africa or in the Southern Hemisphere in general. And obviously now we're starting off a relatively small base, awareness is just growing, but we have some exam center providers that are very keen to work with us and scale up as we see the demand for our examinations growing. And so there will be areas currently that don't have examination centers, but we're working on ensuring that that access is available in all key cities. If there is any location that you're interested in knowing about, in terms of where exam centers are located, or if there's an area you want to ask about, you're welcome to get in touch with me and I will give you that information. I can also put a list together and maybe share that through Nick after the call, so that you've got a sense of where there is access currently. I hope that would be helpful.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
All right. Okay. So again, for our international A-level and AS level, we have very thorough teaching and learning resources. The sciences are accompanied by lab books. We have ebooks that come also with our physical books. And so there's a lot of exam preparation material available for students, interactive activities, quizzes, this kind of thing, to ensure that students have everything they need to be successful in our qualifications. All right, and then this is just a statement from one of the students in Sri Lanka who studied our IAL qualifications, mentioning the benefits of the modular structure. All right, and then just to confirm in terms of reassuring you, I know we've spoken about recognition by USAF, but our international A-levels are deemed equivalent to the UK A-level qualification by UK NARIC, which is, I think they've changed their name since then. This was 2016 when they did the equivalency, but essentially it's treated in the same way as a UK A-level would be by universities and employers. All right, and then obviously we have universities all over the world that accept our qualifications. I'm happy to share the slides with Nick to distribute with you, and you can access this link, which takes you to a page where we have a list of universities that have formally kind of sent us a letter saying that they accept our qualifications. Obviously, there are many universities that haven't necessarily sent the letter, but it is useful to see the broad range of universities around the world that are accepting students with our qualifications. We also have a team in the UK who maintain relationships with universities around the world. And so if we have a student applying to a university which for whatever reason is not familiar with the UK qualifications, then we would support them with engaging with them. We also have services where students can use our website to request Pearson to send a copy of their qualification, or essentially another version of their certificate and statement of results, to a third party, to a university or an employer, or an explanation of their qualification to a third party as well. And so we're very much supporting students with progressing to either their university of choice or into the world of work. This is a little video. I don't know if we'll have time to play it now, but if I share the slides, then you'll be able to watch it in your own time. It's really about students that are studying our A-levels or have done and have gone to universities around the world, talking about the advantages of that qualification. And then we did mention USAF. I just took a little snapshot of the exemption criteria in terms of IAL and IAS. And we did talk a little bit about the two-sitting rule as well. You'll be familiar with that if you've already been using UK qualifications. But if there are any questions, then feel free to get in touch. We do also have a endorsed guide. So endorsed by USAF, it's a guide to progressing to university in South Africa with Pearson Edexcel qualifications. So again, I'll share that with Nick and he can distribute that to everybody. So you've got clarity on exactly how it's accepted. But essentially, it's treated as a foreign matric exemption with the criteria based on UK qualifications. All right, so that's all my slides. So if there are any other questions, whoops, jumping around.
when you were going through that very first slide, I just remembered I was actually at Edexcel when Pearson basically and Edexcel joined together. And all of us that were actually working in Edexcel at the time, we all got shares from Pearson. And I just realized that I still have shares somewhere around. So I must actually...
Those would definitely have increased in value by now.
So I should have a look and see where they are now.
It had a bit of a roller coaster since then, so you're probably good that you didn't cash them out a few years ago, but you're I think in luck now.
If I remember correctly, and I could be wrong here, I think in the UK you do your driver's license. Pearson runs the driver's license centres as well.
Pearson View, that's the Pearson View.
That's part of the Pearson View. That's right.
Computer-based testing services. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Sorry, Linda, you've got a question?
Yes, sorry, I apologize if it's not relevant to everyone, but I noticed that they had an English A and an English B, and then English is a second language. Now, obviously, the A and B must be first language. What is the difference there?
It's actually a difference in the focus in content. So most students take English A, but English B has a different focus on the type of texts and literature. And I can share a guide that we have a subject guide that explains the different options for within a particular subject. So we've got for English, we'll have an explanation of English A and B. Then for mathematics, we'll have an explanation of the tiers in Maths A, and then also what Maths B focuses on. And then we have further pure maths as well. So I can share some of that guidance that you can see where there are some choices within a particular subject, exactly which pathway would be suitable for each learner.
And would they then be equally acceptable to USAF, for example?
Yes, absolutely. There's no difference in the degree of rigor between English A and English B.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, just to add, also with our maths, which has tiered qualification, so foundation and higher, the foundation qualification is only graded up to a 5. So we're talking about the 9-to-1 grading scale. A 4 is a C grade. And it doesn't, the certificate doesn't indicate foundation or higher. So, and the requirement is to achieve a C grade at international GCSE. So USAF would not know about the tiers when they see the certification. They just see that that student has completed maths and that they've achieved a C grade.
Sorry, there's sorry, Susan and Mike, you said you could buy more books.
With the money from all your shares, Nick.
Oh, oh, you guys know me too well then.
Pearson books, I hope.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, while we're speaking about books, if I was interested in getting some of the teacher resources and whatever, do I order that from Pearson Direct or?
So there are a number of bookstores that are supplying our resources. Recently, Pearson South Africa, the publishing arm, was sold. So they were stocking and supplying our international resources, but that's no longer the case. So there are some bookstores that are ordering from us internationally and bringing those into the country. Currently, there isn't anyone carrying a lot of stock, so it does mean that it may take some time to get the products into the country, but you can also reach out to the bookstore you normally work with and put them in touch with me, and I will support them to understand where to order those resources and how to access those. As long as they've got an import license, they'll be able to bring those into the country for you.
For me, Susan and Mike, go ahead.
Sorry, this is going to come across as, I think, a very stupid question, but you turned around and said that the mathematics then is on a C level for USAF. That's where they'd recognize you at. But now you're not satisfied with C level, you want B or A. Explain the difference to me. I'm a bit confused with that. Is that a different level? Because if 5 is equal to C, but what happens if I want better? Let's say I'm wanting to be a vet and actually I need an A or a B.
Then you would take higher tier maths.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. Okay, so it all depends on the different type of maths or what level you want.
The foundation tier where grading is capped at a 5. But then if you're wanting to pursue mathematics as in further studies, or it's an essential component for your
career,
then you would take higher tier maths or further pure maths or one of the other options.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I like that. I think that actually makes it a lot more accessible to students, very much the same as what Yolandi's saying, and that it just also makes the subjects a lot more accessible to a lot of students in that. So I'm very chuffed, absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions? Yolandi?
Okay, so I obviously have to defend my position as an Afrikaans teacher, and you don't offer Afrikaans. Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. We're in South Africa, and a lot of our students have an Afrikaans base, and therefore I always recommend that if you've got an Afrikaans vocabulary, stick to it. Don't suddenly in IGCSE level kind of pick up Spanish or French unless you really need those. So there is no problem with pairing that with your Cambridge Afrikaans with USAF.
Absolutely not. And actually in our guide that was endorsed by USAF, there is a statement that confirms that. They look at the qualification, not the examination board.
Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you.
And, I'm hoping that we will grow enough in South Africa to eventually be able to develop an Afrikaans qualification. So it could be a not yet, not a no, but I can't make any promises at this point.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then, does anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, I wanted to ask Hugo. I mean, just in terms of the how you found or how your tutors have found teaching on the Edexcel program. If we can just, if I can come back to that, let's just, Susan and Mike have another question.
Okay, so Nick, if Mila has been doing the Cambridge curriculum, what happens now? If she wants to change, does she just simply change? Does she have to change the curriculum? When does one make this decision?
Why would you?
And why would you? Sorry, we're just a bit confused.
No. So
that.
you're absolutely, I fully understand the questions and that. So don't worry in that. The current students, obviously, we're going to complete our program on the study on the level that we're at.
Okay.
I'm going to start introducing the Pearson subjects or the Pearson levels probably from June with a small GCSE class. And then I will just continue the students and keep taking on board more and more Edexcel students because that's going to be the board that because I'll be growing pretty much as Edexcel is growing and more exam boards, exam centers are opening up. Then obviously, my student base is going to grow with that as well. So for where Mila is at the moment, we don't have to worry. Mila just carries on as per normal.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yolandi?
Okay, can I raise two things quickly? One of them being, I heard a rumor, and if it is true, I'm super excited about the fact that you don't necessarily have to do practical exams at AS and A level for sciences. Am I correct?
That is absolutely true. You can
Let me not swear. I'm so excited. Okay. It makes a huge difference to us that have to travel for exam venues that can actually accommodate the exams. So that's a really big thing. Okay, secondly, what are you envisioning, or what are your current exam fees? And well, yeah, I can compare them. I know what Cambridge charges.
Sure. So we are a little bit more expensive than Cambridge. Again, I can share the fees list with Nick to distribute. You're welcome to see our exam fees that we charge in South Africa. Obviously, the examination centers would charge an administrative fee on top of that fee. Mm-hmm. So that's something we don't control, but at least it will give you a sense of what those fees look like according to each qualification. And we have tried to be as competitive as possible.
Okay, and then the process of actually perhaps requesting to see scripts or remarks and all of that, are you guys quite open to that?
We are very transparent. There's a free access to script service with Pearson Edexcel. So your exam center just needs to request that on behalf of the candidate, and that will be issued to the learner at no charge from Pearson. I don't know if the exam center might charge you, but Pearson does not charge.
Cool, thank you.
That's actually really exciting. I know that the access to scripts and that is always something that worries a lot of people. So that I think is a great opportunity. That's a great selling point.
Yeah, we've seen a huge drop in post-results services requests after introducing that service. So it means that you have a very informed position from which to decide whether you want to ask for a clerical recheck or a remark of the paper. You can see exactly how the learners responded and also how the mark scheme has been applied.
Yeah, so I this might just, and I don't want to chew up anybody else's time, but so I assume that because of the scripts being scanned, all that they'll do is just withdraw the script from the scan, and then the student can actually see the marks that are awarded online in the online marking for each of those. That is just
exactly. So we've always had that. We just weren't making use of it.
Yeah. That is brilliant. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay. And then, sorry, I wanted to jump over to, if you don't mind, just quickly to Hugo from Cambrilearn. And I just wanted to hear his experience, obviously, with the delivery of the Edexcel subjects. If you don't, if is Hugo still here?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Nick. I actually wanted to just piggyback off what Yolandi said. One of the main drivers for Cambrilearn introducing Edexcel is exactly that reason. At the AS level, there are no practical science exams, and that is a real barrier to accessibility for homeschoolers, because finding a lab service that will open up for you to be examined for Cambridge is quite problematic, not to mention expensive. So that is one of the reasons why we're very happy to offer the Edexcel AS Sciences, the physics, the chemistry, and the biology. And then the other thing I can mention is it's actually quite easy to switch from the Cambridge AS Sciences to the Edexcel Sciences. I can't speak for the other subjects, but the material is actually quite similar. Obviously, it's examined differently. I won't say the exams are the same, but we have actually an instance of that. We had a student on scholarship who started out in the Edexcel field, and then when he came to us, he was offered a scholarship for Cambridge because we used to only offer Cambridge, and he's now switched back to Edexcel Sciences halfway through. So it can be done. It's actually not as difficult as you'd think to switch from Cambridge to Edexcel and vice versa, at least for the sciences. And that's all that Cambrilearn is offering at the moment. But I have no doubt that we'll grow, like Christine said, as Edexcel grows. So I do want to, I think, reiterate the two advantages that Cambrilearn can see in Edexcel. That is the lack of practical exams being required at AS and the modularized version of exams at AS. That is a huge advantage. It does allow students to concentrate on certain papers or to retake only those papers where they didn't fare well, whereas Cambridge makes you write the entire series of exams for their qualification all over again, so that is a problem. So I think there are certain advantages that Edexcel has over Cambridge, and it's something that we wanted to make use of. So that's why we've offered it, Nick. So far, just for the sciences, as I say. Thanks.
So Yolandi, you have a question?
I do. Sorry, I always have lots of questions, but my question really is about application for concessions. I know we've generally struggled quite a lot with that in terms of either extra time or readers and scribes or whatever else. How does that process work with you? And are there, obviously there are limitations, but I know that for the last 3 sets of exams, our exam center has refused one of my students a reader, even though they all reports say that they need a reader for examination purposes. So what is your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on individual cases, but we have a very thorough access arrangements process. I think the process we have may be a little bit more laborious than what Cambridge is, but we have a team that are highly experienced in considering the evidence that has been submitted, and I've never had a complaint about the result. So I think if there was any kind of gap in evidence, they would come back and kind of highlight that and give you a chance to address it. Within the UK, there is an assumption that every school has a special education needs coordinator, that students will have already been with them for a number of years before they start writing their high stakes examinations. And so our documentation is quite UK-centric in terms of making some assumptions, but the team that manage that process are very aware that internationally that's not necessarily the case. And so you can submit reports from independent medical professionals or, the relevant specialist that diagnoses whatever the issue is and motivates for the access arrangements they need. So as long as there's thorough evidence from a qualified professional, then that should be sufficient to get the necessary access.
Yeah, that wasn't necessarily the concern. We've had certain examination centers actually refuse to accommodate purely because it was inconvenient to them.
It's something that's more difficult to control for the exam board, but you are welcome to submit complaints to the exam board. And honestly, because there's a duty of care that we have to every student in our qualifications, and there's an obligation for the examination centers to be carrying that duty of care as well. And so that would be problematic in terms of the terms and conditions of the relationship between the examination center and the exam board. So it's definitely something that if it was one of our exam centers, it's something that we would want to pick up with them.
Cool, thank you.
I'm very aware, sorry, Christine, that you've got a busy life and that we can't take up too much more of your time. So I'm going to say thank you very, very much, for coming this evening. I really appreciate the time. I'm berating all my other parents for not coming. But I'll make sure that this video goes out to all my parents. So thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us about the Pearson Edexcel qualifications. And I look forward to working with you more going forward.
Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure to speak to all of you this evening, and feel free to reach out if you'd like more information.
I was going to add that if anybody does have any questions directly for Christine, you're welcome to send them through to me, and then I will forward them on. And I'll get all of that information that Christine has promised and that, and then I will send it out to parents and everybody as well. And then, of course, obviously, a big thank you to Hugo from Cambrilearn. Thanks for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for educating us, actually. I think we're all learning, and I think it's very exciting. So this was a real privilege. Thank you, Christine, and thank you, Nick, for your hospitality.
It's
been a pleasure.
Fabulous. And then lastly, thank you obviously to my parents, to Teacher Yolandi, Teacher Rox, Teacher Linda. And if anybody has any other questions than that, that they would like to ask me or anybody that was contact details for anybody here, you're welcome to just, and Hugo, if you want to put your just contact details into the chat box, then people can also contact you directly. Just got to get the spelling right of my name at this time of the evening. So thank you very, very much. So there's my email address. Christine, thank you very, very much. And then obviously Hugo, and if Teacher Yolandi or any of the other teachers want to pop their details up, I'd appreciate that. You're welcome to do that. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much. And now I can not be as nervous as I was when I first started.
Thank you, Nick. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Go pour a drink, Nick.
Yes, indeed. We got to organize something.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Cheers. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks, Teacher Rox.